So thank you all for hopping on, taking a couple minutes out of your busy day. Similar to the previous Google Meets we've had, this should last about 10 minutes of me sharing some strategies and resources, and then I'll stop the recording. I will stay on as long as anybody wants to chat or has questions, and then the recording and resources will be shared out later. So based on feedback, that I got in October. I know originally this was a conferring session, and then I was kind of hearing different needs around the district. So this is a pivot. We're going to spend some time this afternoon talking about 3 high impact phonics routines that you can use pretty much in any grade level. Specifically for second grade, they'll support fluency, they'll support encoding, knowing that kids often get tripped up on those vowel teams and R-controlled vowels. Here are a few things that you could try. So I'm going to jump over. I will share this resource with everyone in the chat box toward the end of the session. But if I share it now and people join, they won't be able to see it in the archives. So I'm going to wait till closer to the end. 3 quick strategies that you can use to support phonics instruction and to help build fluency. If you've been through letters, which I think most of us have at this point, some of them are going to sound familiar, but it's kind of a refresher of some things that you can do. So strategy number 1 is the phoneme grapheme mapping grid. Strategy number 2 is an activity called Find My Family. And strategy number 3 is kind of taking those blending lines that we have in Benchmark and kind of supercharging them. So I'm going to start with strategy number 1, which is the phoneme grapheme mapping grid. So this looks just like your L-coded boxes, helps with dictation. A couple of resources that I'm going to share with you. One is just a blank grid that you can print. And then there are also some grids that you can access through Seesaw and assign to students, which is nice because then you can have kids turn them back into you. So the way to use the phoneme grapheme mapping grid, it's to use with word dictation. It can be used in whole group, small group, one-on-one as students are writing. I think sometimes we don't transfer it into writing when kids are struggling with spelling. And it's a great way to get kids to see that they can kind of slowly articulate those sounds. So the way to use it is, number 1, speak the word out loud that you want students to write. Number 2, have kids repeat the word. If it's multisyllabic, have them go ahead and break it into syllables. So if we're writing the word robot today, I would say my word is robot, repeat the word robot. Now we're going to say the word robot in its parts, robot. Then we're going to encode the word. So putting one sound in each box, not one letter, but each box goes for one grapheme or one sound. Then I'll have kids scoop by syllables to check. And then the last step, the one that I often forget, is to have kids write the entire word. If you have kids who are struggling with phonemic awareness, have them use chips or some sort of manipulative before they put the letters in. And then if you want to kind of supercharge or extend it, you can have kids do word ladders. Tons of resources that coaches have, I have, reading specialists have. You can change it to a missing letter activity. So if we're trying to write the word, I'm trying to think of a good one, if we write the word taught, and I know kids already have the T at the beginning and the T at the end, I might go ahead and put those down and leave that aw chunk in the middle off to have kids kind of hone in and focus on just what letters are missing. So first resource, there is a phoneme grapheme mapping grid that I use with letters all the time. I think most people have that one. There's also one from the Colorado Department of Education that you can access that gives you just some kind of structure and some directions on how to use it. So that one looks like this. And then what I actually really love is the Seesaw grid that I found. And most of you probably have searched or have these as well. Sorry, it's loading slowly. So on your Seesaw grid, you can assign it to kids. I'm just going to go with the presentation route so you can preview it. You can, if you want kids to work on things independently, you can pre-record and so have kids push play and write the word. Or if you're doing this whole group during your phonics instruction, just pull up the grid. Looks like each one has 3 phonemes. have kids, encode their sounds and then have them write the entire word. You're able to scoop. The nice thing here is you also have that highlighter and the pencil and the pen at your disposal, so kids can change colors. If you're writing a heart word, they can write the heart sound in different colors, so you can kind of play around a little bit as well. And what I like about the seesaw option is that you can have kids submit it to you, whereas if you're doing it in phonics instruction on a whiteboard or on like something erasable, you may not be able to see the kids that you want to spot check. So that is strategy number 1, phoneme grapheme mapping. Just kind of a solid reminder that we can use this throughout our phonics instruction, and it's really powerful, especially for our struggling spellers. High impact strategy number 2 is for everyone who hates doing word sorts, which I feel like is many of us. Word sorts can be done digitally, and that's great, but this is more of an interactive, if you're thinking about the MOI, getting kids up and moving and active and engaged, Find My Family is probably one of my favorite phonics activities. So what you do with Find My Family, I've included a Canva template here that you can make a copy of. Super high tech. I looked for a word card template and then started typing in words. So some of these are just words taken, I think, from the 2nd grade open syllable unit. So going in, typing in enough words. I only did 12. Ideally, you want to have 1 card per kid in your class. You don't want anyone to have 2 cards, and you want to make sure everyone gets at least 1 card. At its most basic, to play Find My Family, every kiddo gets a card. If it's open, you tell kids to find and make a family. So if you can kind of set the parameters. You can either tell them you're going to find the long A family, the long E family, the long I family, or you can leave it open-ended. You need to find a feature of this word and find a family. So similar to an open versus closed sort that kids do on their own, you can do that with this as well. When kids find their family, you want to have them check to make sure everyone belongs in the family. Kids love it when they get to tell another kid that they don't actually belong to their family and they need to go find another family. You do have to do a little coaching to make sure that's said in a kind way. And then once they've made sure everyone belongs, they need to have a family name. So we're the long E family. We're the long A family. And then they need to share out with the class, we're the long A family. Here are all the words that belong in our family. The nice thing about this is you're only prepping 1 set of words. They can be reused. So it's not something that you're like making and the kids are sorting and getting rid of. And it's pretty fast. To find a family really takes 5 minutes or less. Kids are reading their own word and others because they're comparing and contrasting what family do I belong in. As an extension, add a minute or 2 to the activity to get kids reading more of the words and decoding. Before they get to find their family, they can play quiz trade for 3 or 4 rounds. So I have a word, someone else has a word. I walk up to them and read mine. They read theirs, and then we trade. And we do that 3 or 4 times. And then the teacher says, find your family, and we go. The last activity is blending lines. And this is something you're probably already doing. In Benchmark, you have the build automaticity resources. Last year, we did a phonics cohort with kindergarten and 1st grade. And one of the strategies that was really, really exciting for teachers in KN1 was the idea of having blending lines. Benchmark does not come with them for KN1, so a lot of the teachers have made their own. The perk for 2 through 5 is that Benchmark has them for you, and they call them build automaticity. So what a blending line is for kids who are still working really heavily on decoding and then bridging into fluency and automaticity. Kids are working on how to blend the sounds that they're learning into words. So when you give kids that build automaticity resource, the one with just the list of words across the top, usually single syllable on the top, multisyllabic on the bottom, you're going to start by, it's the time in your instruction when you normally hand it out. Give it to kids, have them underline or highlight the focus grapheme, but have them say the sound as they go through it with you. So if the words are pour, for, store, and more, as they highlight the or chunks in each word, they're going to say or as they go across and highlight those. I do that for a few lines, then have them finish highlighting that grapheme for the entire page. Then you're going to read the first 2 rows chorally as a class, so kids kind of set a pace. They start to do that initial decoding together. Then you want them to practice reading the words independently or with a partner, so reading the entire page. You do have the option to scaffold and differentiate, because if you have students that aren't ready for the multisyllabic, you can have them just do the top. If you have kids that the top is too easy, you can have them just do the bottom. Have them practice reading them at least once, and then have the partner time the reader for 1 minute to see how many words they read. You're going to want to do it all 3 times because the goal is that you're building fluency. So even if they read all of the words in 55 seconds the first day, maybe the next day they can read all of the words in 52 seconds. Someone asked this morning, does this have to be done over multiple days, or can they read it 3 different times in a row? My answer is do what is working for you and your kids. If you have kids that aren't at the rate that you want them to be on that initial day, you can have that small group come back and do it again a repeat day. So really it's up to you. But the goal is that kids are getting faster, kids are seeing them multiple times. And what we're doing is we're really kind of locking in that pattern that would make that particular sound when they read it. So I'm going to go ahead and stop recording. I'll drop this resource in the chat box so that you have it. And then I will hang on if anybody has any questions or anything you want to share and chat about.